The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Reproduction or dissemination, other than for the purpose of education or information without the express written permission of the Phoenix Research Institute or Nova Society Media, is strictly prohibited.
Welcome to the fourth season of the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklynn and Weldon, and I'm here with the panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Our question comes from Denise, who lives in Sacramento, California. Denise asks, Justin Trudeau announced he is stepping down as the Prime Minister of Canada. Why do you think he is doing this? And any ideas as to who might replace him? Who would like to take that one?
Our 51st state question.
Yeah.
I think Justin Trudeau, I should have checked this, has been there for over 10 years now.
9. He's actually been 9.
9, okay.
Yeah.
And that I'm a big believer that one of the things that we got right here in this country was 8 years. The second term is usually a little bit different from the first term, but that's it. I'm doing some research right now on the 1880 election when Grant had come back from his world tour after Rutherford B. Hayes had pulled the federal troops out of the South. There was a lot of disruption down South. Lynchings were beginning. There was a mass migration of Black families from Tennessee specifically, but also from other states to Kansas. At that time, what they called the Exodusters. And there was it was a period of flux for the United States. And that was a very interesting election because some people thought that only Grant back could put the U.S. back together again the way it was before Reconstruction ended. A lot of people felt that 3 terms was unseemly. And in the end, he withdrew his name from consideration and would not accept and did not get or accept the nomination, which went to ultimately to Garfield. But I think that the framers got it right with 2 terms, or Washington maybe got it right because I don't think it's in the Constitution that 8 years is enough, and that Trudeau had run out his clock. And that's really the biggest thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been there 9 years. He's extremely unpopular, especially in the West. I've said before, I was in Calgary. They basically said he isn't welcome here. He isn't welcome in any of these provinces. I mean, when you're unpopular like that, and you've got a lot of things that you're going to have to deal with, popularity is going to be very important. He's now got to deal with the new administration in the United States, which is going to be extremely difficult to do. He's got to deal with the impending tariffs that are going to be put on. Again, another difficult situation he's going to have to deal with. And I think that brings us to who might be his replacement, which might be Freeland, who was his finance minister and was against the tariffs. I think his party stays in power. I don't think they're going to change, but I think that it might be Freeland. And that may be one of the reasons, on top of being against Trudeau's going down to Mar-a-Lago, that might have been one of the reasons why she basically stepped out. She's still an MP, and that put her into a position away from what is now an unpopular government, and they may bring her back. This may be her opportunity to come in there and be the prime minister, and we'll see how that one goes. Going to the Grant thing, the other thing about the Grant thing, and I don't know how your research is going with it, but we also have to remember that U.S. Grant died of throat cancer in 1885. So in 1880, he probably wasn't all that well to begin with either. So as your research, it'd be interesting to know if his illness was another factor in keeping him out of going for a third term, because let's face it, when he returned from his world tour, his cancer was probably full blown. Of course, they didn't know about all that stuff as much as we do today, but he probably was a sickly guy, and he died in July of 1885. So he may not have been able to actually finish out his term. So that's been an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the NDP, I believe it's the New Democratic Party in Canada, and the Liberals can maintain a coalition government. I believe that for the moment, Parliament in Canada is suspended until March. I do not personally want to see the Conservative and the Petio coming in. He is very much against, he's very much like Trump is here, very much against the healthcare in Canada, against this program and that program. Only he says that socialism is how working people lose everything and the wealthy get everything. Here, of course, the exchange happens because the capitalists hold on to their money. So it's very interesting to see. But Trudeau is of course out, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I like the current liberal new head of the Liberal Democratic Party. So I like him very much. And he is from British Columbia. At one point, I wanted to say, you were talking about the Constitution. Unless I am very much mistaken, Trump was talking about altering the Constitution and using states, including New York, New Jersey, California, and Massachusetts, and so forth, other states that have asked for constitutional amendments in the past, including like 100 years ago for other purposes, and including those in a coalition of present states, and saying we now have enough states to warrant constitutional amendments. And New York, at least, and I believe New Jersey and several other states have withdrawn their paperwork asking for constitutional amendments so that there will not, one hopes, be enough states to give Trump what he is asking for. Because at that point, then using existing requests, including those that are over a century old, Trump would have a mandate apparently to go ahead and alter the Constitution however he likes. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on that or had heard anything about that. Either of you?
I have not myself. I mean, I know Trump has all these crazy ideas that he likes to bring out from time to time, and it's very hard to get an amendment passed and ratified. My guess is that that's going to be one of the guardrails against his craziest ideas. Look, if Canada, let's say Canada became the 51st state, it would be a very liberal state, wouldn't it, Brooke? I mean, you know this better than I do. That would be a real anti-Trump state, I would think. I'm not really sure, but I'm guessing that if we absorb Greenland, it would be more of the same. So this is all just nonsense. This is all bread and circus stuff. None of this is going to happen. It's not negotiating. It's not a negotiating tactic. It's just distraction. That's all it is.
It's like renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Right.
That he apparently has also proposed doing. It's keeping his base happy. Although the retaking the Panama Canal seems to be a big idea that he has.
Yeah, well, I'll say it's a little bit more than that, because I don't think it's it's a non-starter as far as an idea is concerned. But what it does do is it conditions his base. And there are people out there like Jesse Waters, one of those Fox News hosts, actually used the term, he needs to I forget exactly what he said, scratch my imperialist itch or something like that, or work my imperialist muscle, which is really bizarre. But it just shows, and if you look at Twitter, you see all these people chiming in and going, yeah, we should take over Greenland, and we should invade Panama, and do whatever we want with Mexico, and let's make Canada the 51st state. All of these things, the people who go along with everything that Trump says, this is what he's trying to do, because he's trying to say, hey, remember when you thought it would be a great idea for us to be an imperialist state and take over other states by force? And by that I mean nation states by force. Well, Vladimir Putin is doing that, and he's going after Romania and he's going after Latvia and Estonia and Lithuania. And we thought it was a great idea if we did it. So why would we think it's a bad idea if he does it? And that's all this is about. It's about conditioning his voters to be able to say, Vladimir Putin can run the table in Eastern Europe, and there's nothing we should say about it because we would do the same thing if we could here. And we have these guardrails here which make us weak, and Vladimir Putin is strong and he doesn't have those guardrails. And I think that's really all this is.
First of all, yeah, changing the Constitution is extremely complex. When somebody presents an idea of how to do it that's more complex than the system that we've already got in, you know they're probably talking out their butt. This is, I mean, it's so convoluted, it's not even funny. And this is red meat for his base. That's all it is. Makes them think that they're, that we're important. And it gives them these funny ideas of the 50, and Scott's right, 51st state, Canada, good luck. You're never going to get elected. You're not going to get a Republican elected up there. What are you going to do then? So sometimes it's like, be careful what you ask for, because if you get it, you might not like it. I agree that this is just supposedly red meat for his base, but this is also a distraction, which is enough for those people who aren't very serious, who are easily distracted by minutia and by absolutely, almost flat earthers. This keeps them from paying attention to what's really going to be happening. All right, so the price of eggs and bacon does not come down. Well, I forgot about that I was crying about it for 4 years, because now my attention is on making Canada the 51st state. So, yeah, come on. I mean, that's all this is. It's just fodder for stupid people is really what it comes down to, and people that are easily distracted. It's sort of like we had a German short-haired pointer, Sherlock, great dog, absolutely great dog. But he would focus on something until, oops, squirrel. And off he would go. That's all this is. This is Trump saying, ooh, squirrel, and all of his followers just basically following along. And it's no more than that.
So, Denise, I hope that we answered your question about Justin Trudeau. Freeland may perhaps replace him, so we will see. So we hope that we answered your question, and we will see you next time on the Nova Society.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd like to thank all of our listeners. Without you and your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklynn and Weldon, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and for all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of Nova Works, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description.